Welcome to the Gimson and Rosko Show, episode number 13.
Yes.
As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. It's something I've got written down. I need to keep telling you because those subscribes.
You just keep forgetting. You guys just keep forgetting.
We only did it last time.
It's a
basically
or improving.
Yeah,
I'd like to think with each episode.
I
So
think
today we are
bit.
joined by Niko. How do you pronounce your surname? Niko?
Vorobyov.
Just
call me
Niko
Niko,
Vorobyov.
man.
So Niko.
Yeah, big up Niko.
And Niko is an author of this book, which I'm just about to start reading, which is Dopeworld. I'm holding up to the camera for those of you on Spotify who can't see it. But so Niko, tell us about yourself. When did you start writing?
Well,
Yeah, you can get.
Oh wait, no, sorry, we forgot the thing.
Oh yeah,
Three good things that happened to you today, mate.
3 good things. I know. I woke up, I had a wank, and I came here.
Yeah, man.
Cool. Happy days. Right, yeah, cool. Yeah, tell us about yourself, about writing.
Yeah, so basically a couple years, 7 years ago. Well, okay, it goes back a little more than that. So I was a bit of a naughty boy, and I had a little extracurricular business when I was at university, mostly revolving around weed, MDMA, and a bit of coke.
Thank you, mate.
Yeah, thank you.
I always tell people, I was living in London at the time, and I always tell people, don't take anything on the tube. There are dogs on the tube. Because like one thing that they like to do or they used to do anyway in London, is stand at the top of the escalators.
Yeah, cheers, guys. What's
With the dogs.
cheers in Russian?
Zdravia.
Oh yeah, Zdravia.
So one thing they like
Nice.
to do is stand on top of the escalators, and then with their dogs, and they can just easily round up people and get some easy arrest stats out, not really actually doing much, police work and stuff.
Yeah.
But that day I was in a rush. I was gonna meet like one of my mates who's like going to a gay club, so obviously like you know what he wanted, and I just thought fuck it, like I just put in my pocket like what are the chances that there are gonna be dogs on this station on this day, and yeah, I was wrong basically, and that got me 2.5 years detained at Her Majesty's Palace, as I call it. Well, free gym
Palace,
membership,
Yeah.
free dinner every day, you can't really complain. Don't have to pay for the TV license.
That reminds me, they just sent me a letter the other day with the bill.
Yeah, but
So you started writing when you were in jail? Was that your first?
well, I started writing loads of letters to people because I was in uni at the time, so most of my friends around then in London, obviously, like it's not really there. Like it's not something that they know about, like that side of life. Like they know about like buying drugs and stuff, but they don't know about like so much about the consequences. They're quite shielded from all that.
Yeah.
So they thought like some of my observations there were a little bit funny, and that's what got me into writing and stuff. So then when I actually got around to writing the book about 4 years later, I just copy paste a bunch of stuff from my old letters for the prison base, because you can't plagiarize yourself, right?
Yeah.
But that's what got me into it, because like people were saying, oh, like you've got a good style, like you like notice all these little details that make it more interesting, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
So
man.
there was no like when you were at school or anything like that then, like where or
Oh no, I was shit at English.
Yeah, really? Okay.
So what were you studying at uni?
First I did history, and then I did criminology at another uni. But
The irony.
no, it gets better. So like the full name of the course was called Countering Terrorism and Organized Crime. It was at UCL. So like all my teachers there were either like ex-cops or like they wanted to be cops, and the same with all the students. So then like I got called like just before the exams, so I had to write them a letter saying, I'd like to defer my exams by a little while, please. I won't be able to make it this year. So that was a really awkward letter to write.
Yeah.
So I had to phrase it in like some kind of way that won't get me kicked off. But in the end, like when I got out, I got early release because I was a good boy, didn't start any fights. So I got out just in time for exams, and it was fine.
Yeah,
Just
cool.
had to read over the stats bit a couple more times because fuck stats, man.
So when you was in jail then, was that like when you had the idea for the book?
Nah, that came a little bit later. That came. So I was I moved to Russia then because I couldn't find a job here. Not really so much from being in jail, but like from lack of experience. I only really ever earned money from selling drugs, so I never bothered really like getting an internship or whatever to get me qualified. I managed to get a job in Russia, and I was living there in the communist times in Russia. They had these big ass communal flats where you had a couple of families living at the same time. So it wasn't quite like one of those, but it was still had like 3 adults, like 8 kids, and 2 cats. So I tried to get the fuck out of there as much as I could. And then since I had some money from my job, I thought, I'll go around traveling. And then I thought, I'll write about it. And then sort of just naturally came
kind
together.
Kind of fell into place.
Yeah. That and like my prison thing from earlier, it kind of came together, yeah.
So where was because I haven't read the book yet, so I'm learning all this as well, like as we're going to be talking. So what was like the first like place or like the first sort of like moment of like, was it going to be a book or a blog or something to start with before that, or was like, where was like sort of like the spark of like, yeah, I'm onto something here?
So I did some, before I wrote the book and before I moved to Russia, I did some bit of like travel blogging and stuff like that. So 2016 I went backpacking across South America. So I did all these weird tours in Colombia. There's like a tour, it's an illegal tour, so obviously I don't recommend your listeners go on it. Definitely do. There's a tour in a certain small town in the south of Colombia where you can like make your own coke. So one of my first blog posts was about that, and then I go back to it again in the book. So yeah, I've been collecting material since then. Okay,
so it's, that's mad.
That was like a trippy tour though, man. That was so sketchy.
Was it dangerous? Felt dangerous?
It probably wasn't dangerous because like obviously like loads of people have been on it, but it still felt dangerous because like we had to ride a horse somewhere in the middle of the sticks, like in the middle of these like jungle like forested hills, and we got to this small farm. It wasn't like a proper like cocoa plantation, like massive ones, because they don't really exist anymore. It's mostly small farms now,
right?
But like at any point I thought, like this army helicopter is gonna land, and like I'm just gonna like run through the jungle, and obviously I'm gonna get caught because there are gonna be trained soldiers chasing me, and then like I'm just gonna be calling my mum from a Colombian prison saying, "Mom, it happened again."
Yeah, mad.
Fuck you.
Because they spray it. That's because the Americans, isn't it? They spray the fields with is it glyphosate?
That stopped for a while, but I think they're trying to bring it back now. It's some deadly shit, man. Like kills a bunch of animals and plants.
Yeah, because the book that I just finished reading it's called Ending Hunger, and in that he talks about that, and he says the miracle of glyphosate, or like how it was wiping out all the coca leaves that the Americans spent, and then he said some Colombian farmer basically seen one that started to shoot up amidst with this, and they're like, get that, and then they like started breeding that more, and then like it like revolutionized farming, and that just come from inadvertently the Americans fucking spraying the shit out of the field. It was one that had become resistant to it,
right?
So they've now got strains that are resistant to the fucking
mutant strain. It's like coronavirus, like new strains coming out.
Exactly. Yeah. So then like did you? So after that, is that you went back there for the book part, or was that like?
I did go to Latin America, but I didn't go there. I went to Mexico and Brazil again. In Brazil, I got held at gunpoint 2 times in 1 month. It was kind of a dodgy place.
In the favelas, or just like?
Nah, not even. Actually, when I was in the favelas, I felt kind of safe because, like, at least in Rio de Janeiro.
Yeah.
Like, I can't talk about other cities, but at least in Rio de Janeiro, in the south of Rio anyway, like, if you're in the favelas and you're obviously not, like, Brazilian, then, like, a lot of people are just going to assume you're there to buy drugs, and no one's going to want to mess with that business, because people who mess with that business get bullets through the foot.
Right.
Or the kneecap. I got robbed like in between in the middle of the night. Me and my ex-girlfriend at the time. We were basically coming home from a night out. I was drunk as shit. We pulled into a taxi pulled into a petrol station. Now I think about it, a taxi driver was probably in on it. And they're like, I thought, we're just gonna get some petrol. But actually, it's these 4 kids. He came out pointing guns at us. And I'm not gonna lie, like as far as armed robberies go or being mugged goes, they were pretty polite. Like they had guns, but they weren't like sticky in their face, like blah, 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 blah. Like they were just like like we have the guns. Like you guys know. It
is what it is. Just hand it over, or you're gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
Road tax.
Yeah.
And another time was
road tax, you know.
So I was going back to my ex's yard on my own this time. and I was in a taxi, and we had the windows rolled up so you couldn't see who was inside. And she lives in an area that was controlled by a group called militia. So in Rio, you've basically got two kinds of gangs. You've got like the City of God kind of drug cartel types in a lot of the favelas, and you have militia, which is that group who are basically, they're like dirty cops. And they've set up their own kind of gang. And so we pulled up just outside our house. And just then, like, a guy steps out of the shadows dressed all in black. He's got a black baseball cap, black t-shirt, black jeans, pulls out a pistol, starts pointing at my side of the car, saying something in Portuguese. The driver pressed the button to slowly roll down the window, and I'm just there, like, sheepishly with my hands up. And I'm like, esto gringo, no falo português, which means I'm a gringo and speak Portuguese. And, like, he recognizes who I am, because I'm, like, the only non-Brazilian in a 2-mile radius. He's like, ha, 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 puts his gun away, and he's like, all right, go on then.
Wow.
I was speaking to some guy once, and he was saying that he was just traveling around South America, and he said, I think it was at Colombia, he said he was in, and he said him and this American traveler got picked up by the police. And he said they put him in the car and they drove him to like this little village, and they were like, if we drop you off here, they will kill you. And he said, give us money and then we take you to the border. And they give him money, and then he said that was the end of his fucking Colombian part of the tour. Then he went off to what border they went to afterwards. He said it was fucking like,
it's a good send-off.
Ta-da.
Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what I mean? So then from there, like, where it was like,
I tried to go a couple places, because a lot of books about like drugs and stuff, they go to like South America and stuff, obviously. So I wanted to do some other stuff, so I went to countries like Iran and Philippines, and went back to Russia as well. Like, drug dealing in Russia is really different to here, because it's all online. So basically what you do, like, no one apart from like, you know, like
has that been since sort of like the Silk Road sort of like time?
It came around about the same time. So basically, no one like calls up their mate and like meets them like in the alley behind McDonald's anymore. Like, it's all gone on, apart from like some heroin addicts who are just like giving it to their mates or whatever. Everything else has gone online. So, but because like over here, when you order something online off Silk Road, it just goes to your house, right, in the mail. But because the Russian postal system is so shit and unreliable, and like any big packages you have to go and sign for, so like no one's gonna go to the post office and sign for like a half ounce of ganj. Like, what if it's like a controlled delivery or whatever, right? At least if it goes to your house, you can just claim, I didn't know who's sending me all these drugs. But there you can't really do that. So what you do is you send them over the Bitcoin or the XMR or whatever crypto you're using, and then they send you on like this little Easter egg hunt. So they give you like the GPS coordinates for Google Maps, and they send you pictures of where they put it, like little red arrows pointing the way.
That's it.
So it'll be like, go into the park. It'll be under the third bin on your left or whatever.
That's pretty smart, man.
And there's like a whole job. They're called Kladmen or treasure men. It's like a whole job of people who just go around just hiding the stashes.
Okay. Do you get people going around trying to find the stashes?
Yeah. I'm trying to rob the stashes as well.
I suppose, if you had like a dog that you trained to sniff. Like you got your own sniffer dog. It's like, go on, boy.
Good treasure hunt. Truffle hunting.
Madness.
Or like a trained pig. Hunting out truffles.
So how did you go about like meeting the people? It was just like you went to there to get your interviews and whatnot.
Usually when I go to another country, like if it was like over here in the UK or if it was in Russia, it's fine because I can speak the language. But if it was like Brazil or Philippines, like I'd always try to get someone local who knows the deal and like show me around. Because obviously like I can't just go into like, you know, like some Mexican saloon bar, come up to like loads of big muchachos with like twirly mustaches and massive sombrero hats, be like, all right, so with a clipboard, you know, like which one of you gentlemen does the opium field?
Who the fuck are you?
It's probably gonna be my last questionnaire.
So is it that? So do you find like the fixers, like you see like when Ross Kemp goes and does his like fucking thing?
Like
that kind of vibe.
Yeah. So the guy I had in Mexico was so he works for everything. He was like BBC, CNN, RT. Actually, you can see. He's got what's that document? You saw a documentary a while ago, that ex-SAS guy is called like the Real Narcos or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was the same guy who sorted them out.
Okay.
Sorted me out.
Cool.
So how'd you go?
The funny thing about
it's easy to find it.
Yeah,
you just
yeah.
go like, is it they like?
I just googled Mexico fixer and I came with
Right.
another guy, but he was busy, so he set me up with that guy.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So you can just Google it then, really, I guess.
Yeah.
That's mad.
There's also like groups on Facebook, like for journalists and stuff, like war reporters.
So is that?
This is nice, by the way.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's really good.
It was a revelation. I only tried it a couple of weeks ago. And I was in Manchester. I went to this Korean bar.
Oh, so you didn't like? That isn't something that come from Korea then when you were there and you started. Have you been to Korea?
No, I want to though. It's on my list.
Right. Because North Korea, I remember reading this thing once and it was mad, and they were saying like how they think in North Korea they got like state sponsored like industrial MDMA or like meth, like
Yeah,
fucking
meth labs. Yeah.
In,
Really?
in North Korea, yeah. So they were saying like in like Thailand and places like that, they're saying well, majority like the meth and that comes from North Korea.
Wow.
And it's state run.
Wow.
Is and they were like, I can't remember where I read the article. Might have been Vice.
There's loads of
Might have been Vice,
that,
but there was one they were like saying they were following these like ex Black Ops soldiers that they knew, and they were like, it's like proper like.
Oh, the South African guy, and he had like a whole bunch of like ex like mercenaries. And shit.
Yeah.
And he had like a worldwide crime biz. He was like trying to overthrow some African government as well.
Yeah, that's the someone do that, and he was like basically that's how like all the meth was getting into.
That's mad.
Into Thailand. So have you been to like Thailand and them sort of countries, because they're quite I mean their laws on drugs are a lot harsher than the West.
I went
innit?
Philippines. That's like kind of same area, same supply routes, I guess.
So is that the same over there? Like if you get caught dealing over there, it's like fucking
Get your hands
fucked.
chopped off.
Like life. Do you mean like Thailand?
Well, they have this president right now in Philippines called Rodrigo Duterte, who's basically like a madman. So his like whole thing. His thing that actually even got him elected, this was like the main. This wasn't just like something that he does as well. This was like the thing he was saying in all his campaign speeches. This is what got him elected. Is like he's gonna fight this war on drugs, and basically he's gonna. He said openly in his campaign, I'm gonna fucking shoot and everyone who's like a drug dealer, is like a drug user, blah blah blah, and. People thought he was kind of like exaggerating a little bit, yeah. It's just like political rhetoric. But since he got elected, like I remember the last death toll I read. No, the last death toll I read was like 2 years ago, and it was up to like 25,000 killed by death squads.
Wow.
And like you don't even need like because there's like no trial. They just do it like off the grid kind of thing, yeah. So basically, like, if your neighbor doesn't like you, your neighbor can like call the police and say like, "Oh yeah, this guy's dealing meth." And like a couple of weeks later, you get a knock on your door. It's like gonna be like 3 or 4 masked guys in balaclavas just blow your brains out.
That's fucked. Because China have got a similar sort of thing, haven't they? With their like these vans that rock up in the middle of the night.
Yeah, but in China it's kind of official, so it's kind of like they have like the death penalty officially. Like the police are allowed to do that. Whereas over there, they're basically police are hiring their own hitmen to do their dirty work for them.
Wow.
Yeah, that's fucked. Because the thing is, as well, it's like they
don't have to be involved in drugs. Someone can just accuse you.
Yeah, that's mad. That's like
crazy.
That's like the American fucking no-knock raids, isn't it?
Yeah.
So like where they just fucking like if they've got suspicion, they don't have to knock and say police here. They just go in, boot off the door, and you could. That's where these things happen, where they get the wrong house.
Yeah, all that Black Lives Matter
stuff.
Yeah,
guns blazing. It's like fucking you've just gone into some innocent person's house.
Yeah.
Shot up the house. Like,
killed their dog as well.
Yeah. It's fucked. So because the thing is with these countries though, it's like. It doesn't work. Like, you mean like time and time again where they put all these harsh sentences and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's like people are still.
Well, look at Portugal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah, I went to Portugal as well. It's a cool place.
Yeah. Oops.
For the book.
Yeah.
So what countries did you like sort of like? Go
Yeah, where
for?
have you
I guess
been?
you went. I guess you went to like South America for like obviously the coke.
Yeah.
And then where'd you go for like the opium and stuff like? What regions did you go for?
Opium went to Iran because Iran it's very big there. It's bigger than drinking actually, because like obviously in Iran it's like a Muslim country. Like the government there is like a lot stricter than the people. Like the people are pretty chill. Like pretty much all the Iranians I hung out with, like, they drink as well. That's another thing. So, like, drinking there is basically like an illegal drug. It'll be allowed for us because we wouldn't be considered Muslim. So we'd be allowed to go with. There's like a bunch of like Armenians and Jews living in Iran as well, and they're allowed to drink. But for like 95% of the population, like, drinking is basically a drug.
Right.
So you basically have to call your booze dealer.
Yeah.
Or like make it yourself in a bathtub. But the other thing is that because in the Quran it doesn't say anything. It just says the only explicit ban in the Quran is on alcohol.
Right.
I mean, like, you can interpret that a couple of ways. There's like even some Muslims who say that the ban on alcohol in the Quran, it's just very specifically about the kind of ban on wine that would have been around in like the Prophet Muhammad's time. So technically you can drink beer and you can drink vodka, you just can't drink this like very specific wine that they had back there.
Because if you the stuff that they're talking about at the moment as well, it's like the wine from them sort of times they're saying is like the world of psychedelics.
Yeah,
it's like
psychedelics.
wine of Dionysus and all that shit. And they're saying Christianity is like founded upon like these rituals, like almost like ayahuasca rituals and shit. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And it's like, so maybe the wine then, like even
the body and blood of Christ and all that.
Do you know what I mean? It's that's interesting. I can't remember the dude's name, but he's like leading the revolution in it, and he said he was on Joe Rogan. And he was saying, he goes, I can never do psychedelics. He goes, as soon as I do, every other scientist will then label me like they do with anyone else. It's like, yeah, but you just do that.
Oh, the guy that did all this,
so he's
the
doing
research,
all this, and he's saying, like, look, basically like putting good things out about it, but he's saying like, I can't do it because the community would discredit me.
Yeah.
And he's obviously having to do it for other people. And that's the trouble with science, isn't it, man? It's like they got like, it's like, I don't know, say you want to talk about UFOs, for example, and it's like, you can't because it's kind of like a bit taboo and like everyone's going to be like, oh yeah, he's a fucking...
Watched Men in Black 2 too many times.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's it's madness. So have you been to Afghanistan?
Nah, I went to the Afghan border in Iran though. Well, one thing about Iran is because the people, there's still quite a lot of people who don't drink because they're Muslim still. But there's nothing in the Quran about opium.
Right.
So that kind of like replaced it. So like, for example, I stayed over at this guy's house and his dad was basically just puffing opium all the time. And then I stayed over at another house in another part of the country, and I ended up smoking opium with a cop. I didn't know he was a cop when we started smoking, but like we're sat by the river, like the sun's going down over the desert. It's like a river flowing through the desert, so like, you know, it's like this nice sort of view. And like just taking hits from the pipe, and then he just pulls out his phone and shows me his picture of just him standing there in cop uniform holding an AK. And I was thinking like, I don't know, is this like the safest or the most dangerous place I could be right now?
Right.
But I know I finished the pipe.
Well, you're still here.
So they
must have been pretty safe.
Yeah, he gave me a lift to the bus station afterwards in his cop car.
Come on.
So it's pretty widespread then. It's just like a normal...
Yeah, like it's just seen as like beer or whatever over there. Obviously, it's like it's still illegal, but I guess like the law, it wouldn't treat you. It'll treat you more stricter if you're a Muslim caught with alcohol than if you're a Muslim smoking opium.
Right. Yeah, I see.
A bit like weed over here, then I guess.
They actually used to have. They used to in 1960s and 70s in Iran. They used to give away. You could get prescriptions for opium. Like old people over like 55, I think, they could just go to a pharmacy and pick up opium for free if they were addicted. It's actually a better system, I think.
Because what were the Scandinavian countries? They started doing that, didn't they? They got like the booths for like heroin addicts and stuff. Where they
not Scandinavia, but Switzerland did.
Switzerland was it? Yeah.
And
so they decriminalized,
Germany, I think,
right? And then put booths.
But definitely not the Scandinavian, not Sweden and stuff. Sweden are harsh.
Are they?
Yeah, Sweden are probably like the harshest in Europe.
Yeah, interesting. So
I wish I knew that before I went. When I went there.
What, Sweden? Yeah, I've not been to Sweden. Well, I haven't been to anywhere.
Sweden was mad.
Yeah, it's if you like delved into like any like studies on like whether that works better, these countries that have decriminalized compared to countries that.
Well, actually, there was one.
Harsher.
I think it was last year or this because we had the system in the UK until the 1980s. They also used to give away like doctors used to prescribe you free smack and stuff if you're an addict. And then they stopped it because, Maggie Thatcher came along. And she was mates with the Americans and all that stuff. But then they tried doing again. I don't remember if it was last year or earlier this year. So they got like a group of addicts somewhere up north. They started giving them free smack. And they found that like the crime rate among them dropped because like obviously if they got free smack they didn't have to steal anymore. They'll also none of them overdose at the same time because like they know what they're getting from a doctor. So like, it's not an ideal solution because they're still addicted obviously, but it's better than them like fucking stealing a TV and paying some dodgy guy.
You don't know what it is. Because did you ever like do anything like in Russia on the crocodile?
Okay, nah, that went out of fashion after I got there.
So that's done now. That's not like a thing anymore.
Nah, because it's because now with the dark web, there's no short. Because what happened is there was a shortage of heroin.
Yeah.
So like people started making their own from like codeine or like some other shit like that. I think codeine's an opiate as well. But since the dark web came along, anyone can just find smack easily.
So I remember seeing that, and that was fucking mad. Like what that was doing to people. I mean, like fucking like basically like it was like
rotting their limbs.
Yeah, like leprosy, wasn't it?
It's like Walking Dead shit.
Yeah. So I remember speaking to someone there, like, why would you fucking do that, Jeff? It's like, well, they're already addicted. If you can't get anything else, and you're fucking crazy, you ain't gonna get.
You need something, innit?
Yeah. Because America, have you been to America to do anything? Because their opioid like prescription side of things is fucking
fentanyl's gone mad over there as well.
Nah, I haven't been to America for about 10 years now. I don't know if they let me in now, but I want to try again for another book. I'm going to try to sneak in through one of El Chapo's tunnels.
Yeah, because you met El Chapo, right?
I meet El Chapo. I met his family.
Okay.
Met his brother by accident, and then I stayed over at his cousin's house.
And
that's mad.
If you went to the interview done for the book,
yeah. I got the interview with his cousin and that El Indio, his name is.
Right. Yeah.
That's cool.
Where was that?
That was like way deep in the mountains. That was in the mountains of Sinaloa. It's like a 4-hour drive through just nowhere. Right. And every mile or every 2 miles, there's like these kids standing under a tree with like walkie-talkies and bikes and that. So they're keeping a lookout. So when I actually got to the village, there was like all these guys with like walking around with massive guns, like AR-15s and shit. But I was a bit scared for a moment, like what the fuck have I got myself into now? Yeah. But then I realized, like, because they have all those kids with walkie-talkies, if they didn't want us to be there, we wouldn't have made it this far. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is that like so? I guess there's more situations where like that, or was that like probably the highest security situation that you've kind of gone to do like an interview?
Like the dodgiest one, it's not in the book because it was after the book. But I went to South Africa. Went to one of the townships in Cape Town. Townships are basically like what they call the hood there. So I did an interview with these guys. I forgot what gang they were. I think they're like 26s, 27s.
It's all number gangs over there.
Yeah. And there was like 3 of them in this house. And like one of them was just listening to music. He didn't even pay attention to me at all. The other one was kind of cool. Like his front teeth were missing, but other than that, he was like basically a normal guy. Then there was this other dude, just in the corner of the room, just like squatted down, like really thin guy, wearing sunglasses so you could never see his eyes, and he just gave me the creeps, man. And then like after a while, he kind of shuffled across the room. Oh yeah, he was playing with this massive like hunting knife as well in the corner of the room. I don't know if that was for my benefit or he just does that. And he like shuffled across the room, like still squatting. So he didn't get up and walk across. He like shuffled across, like a crab.
What fuck?
And like he gets his knife out again, and he like gets his pill out, and he starts cutting it to pieces. So I'm thinking, like, what the fuck is going on? And they all start smoking this pill from these broken bottles. And that was like the most ghetto shit I've seen in my life.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was as well, so I was kind of like on edge. Like, what if these guys are smoking meth, and like, what if they didn't like me while they're on meth or something? But actually, it turned out it was something called Mandrax. Which is a sedative. So if anything, it calmed them down. Yeah. But I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
So that felt dodgy.
What it reminds me of is Breaking Bad. Where he's like, he goes in and he's fucking smashing the meth.
Tuco.
Yeah, funny. When you were saying that's what made me think of. Yeah.
But not wham.
Yeah, just
skinny
some creepy guy fucking shuffling across the floor or squatting. That's fucking, Do you know what? I think like the part of that's probably the most creepiest is the fact that he was squatting and shuffling the whole time.
Yeah, and not saying anything.
Yeah, that's mad. So it's what do you reckon? Is that the most ghetto place, or do you reckon Brazil is probably more ghetto?
I reckon Brazil is like more dangerous, but that was like the most kind of like what the fuck kind of moment I reckon was in South Africa. Yeah,
because a mate of mine, he went to Rio for the carnival with his missus.
Yeah,
and he said like the whole time they were there, he said his missus just didn't feel safe. And he went there. He did a bit of jiu-jitsu there because like he trains at the same place as me. So he said he went to the place where Salvo, our professor, where he trained. So he said he went there and he said he loved it. But he said yeah, his missus was like. She said she didn't want to go back. She just said she felt like on edge or like
the whole time
unsafe, like the whole time she was there. But it's So did you go to these places then? So when you went to Brazil, that was the sole purpose of you going there, or you just wanted to like, you were just interested?
No, like the first couple of times, yeah, I just went there because I was interested, and the second time I went there was just for the book, and the third time was to stay with my ex. And that's when I got held at gunpoint was the third time. So the other 2 times, like nothing happened. It was calm.
So it's the with the book, like. How did you go about getting it published and stuff? Like, did you have that before, or was that's something you have to do? Because I don't really know about the world of book publishing and shit like that.
I had to make that up as I go along. So, first thing I had to do was I had to find an agent. So what I did was like I wrote up a sample chapter. So I think mine was the Philippines, and I sent off to. I googled a bunch of authors that I knew about who wrote about similar sort of thing. So then like when I could write the email to the agent, it'd be like, oh, I thought you could be interested in this because I see you also represent blah 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 blah. And eventually I got picked up by Howard Marks, Mr. Nice.
Yeah.
It's the guy who represents him who got him that book deal. He's the guy who represents me now.
Right,
oh, sick.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man.
And so like if you got like a future like book deal kind of thing going on with him, or it's like it's book by book basis.
No, I'm signed on. That book by book is like with the publishers,
but
I've got a contract with the agent. So
it's kind of like getting a record deal, but for the book world kind of thing. So they'll push and represent, and he'll then find you a publisher for that afterwards.
Yeah. Right. And then the publisher, they're the ones who handle like the publicity and everything else.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
And then you sit back then. You just do the work initially, and then
so you're just creating.
Yeah, and go on podcasts, obviously.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Have you done many other podcasts on the book?
I was on Sean Atwood and James English, but the James English one I was half asleep for because.
Is that the Newcastle, the guy from Newcastle?
You think he's from Glasgow? Yeah, because I went up to Glasgow.
All right, no, it's not the guy I was thinking of then.
Sean Atwood's the bald guy though.
He's
from up north. James English is a Scottish guy. Basically, I had to catch a bus all the way to Glasgow.
Oh, wow.
And then I didn't get any sleep. So by the time I got there, I was just like, so I wrote a book. I was forgetting what my book was. I wrote a book about
drugs. Like, are you on drugs now?
I wish, man. Wake my ass up.
Yeah. So when was it published?
2019.
Yeah, it is. I know James English.
But we had the American edition, and that edition came out last year.
Yeah. And so how many years did it take to sort of like piece it all together?
2 or 3, not that long.
Not long then.
Yeah. Well, I'm like writing as I'm traveling.
Yeah. So was it so that through that whole 2 years you were like kind of like intensively traveling then? I suppose?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sick, man.
That's cool.
It's like to be able to just fucking travel the world and just write.
Yeah.
Like, do you mean it's So what have you got like next?
Yeah, go on.
Oh shit.
I have a tiny bit. I'm driving anyway, man. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, bless up.
Sorry, what?
What have you got next? Like, what have you got next? You going to continue in this sort of world?
Yeah, so I got two book ideas. So one of them I just sent that off to publishers. It's called How to Break Out of Prison. I don't want to say too much about it because if nothing happens, I don't want to brag about it. But I figure even if the book sucks, people buy it just because of the title. How to Break Out of Prison. And a second book I'm working on, which I started doing the pitch for now. This week is called Bristol Man.
Yeah.
So it's about it's all about because like there hasn't really been a book about like the Bristol underworld yet, like the Bristol drug scene. There's obviously loads about like London, Manchester, Glasgow. But there hasn't been one about like Bristol and Bath. Yeah. So I want to do that, and that's what Noodles is helping me with. I think you're gonna have him on next.
Yeah, he's sat over there.
Yeah, next week.
Next week you'll see him for the case of the viewer or the listener. Yeah, so it's
I need to get that book, man.
Yeah, mate. I'm gonna read it. I'll lend it to you afterwards, and then we can just keep it.
Keep it up there.
Do you know what? We should get you to sign it, actually, man. So
of course.
Let's do that, we'll share.
So did you say you've been to Philippines? Have you been anywhere else in Asia?
Yeah, I went to Japan. Met the Yakuza.
Wow.
Talk to me about this.
Yeah.
Talk to me about this.
So basically, like the Yakuza, they're not like other like gangs or mafias around the world. In that they're kind of like semi-legal organizations.
Okay.
They're I say you can look them up. Like, you can literally look up their offices on Google Maps and get their phone number and ring them up and stuff.
Right.
So when I met two Yakuza guys. One of them wasn't in the Philippines. I had like a bigger interview with him. The other guys were like, because they're not really allowed. You know, they have these like massive like whole body tattoos, right?
Yeah.
But they're not usually allowed to show them off in public because there's like some really harsh like anti-gang laws in Japan now. So basically, like, even if they show off their tattoos, it could be like they're like insinuating some like, oh, you better give us some like a free ice cream or whatever in your shop. It's like gangster intimidation or whatever.
Yeah.
But the one thing they're allowed to show off publicly is during like Japanese like traditional national festivals. So a lot of them, you see like these Yakuza guys walking around like half naked, showing off their tattoos, and they're actually pretty friendly. Like, I got a selfie with some of them, you know, like I got one of them to like take his shirt off and stuff and pose for me.
Because our mate Chris, his wife, she's Japanese, and he said he'd been over there, and like when you go to like the spas and shit, so he said you like sit in a spa,
the public baths and stuff.
Yeah, and like you just look around and there's like all these blokes just fucking covered in tattoos, and it's like, yeah, he's Yakuza. So are they like kind of like how the Italians were? So you know, like the Italian mafia, or like in the mafia in New York, where they were like so ingrained with like unions and shit like that. Like when you say they're more official, is it like they're ingrained in government and like in that respect, or more like how like the mafia was like in New York?
Yeah, I'm not sure, because like you hear like different things, because like it's harder and harder for them to make a living now, because they're out in the open, and because there's been so many like anti-gang laws in Japan. It's like they've had to like subcontract a lot of the actual dirty work to like Chinese immigrants, or like Korean immigrants or whatever. But every now and then you hear like some big scandal. Like I think there was one a couple of years ago, like some politician who was handling the Tokyo Olympics, like handling some building contracts for the Tokyo Olympics. He got photographed with like one of the top Yakuza bosses. So they obviously have some kind of ties, but it's definitely like they've had to keep it on the down low a lot more than they used to like 10 or 20 years ago.
Because it's there's that new series on Netflix that looks really good. It's about the mafia in New York.
Oh, Fear
sort of
City.
like in the 80s. Yeah, it looks really good, man. So it's like,
Yeah, I heard it's good.
they're basically like saying how the way they got in through their power sources were for unions.
Okay.
So they basically took control of the unions of all the workforces, and like that's kind of like how they did their shit on that side of things. Like it was but yeah, it looks good, man.
Yeah, man. I'll watch that tonight.
Yeah, it's fucking. So China, done China?
I went through China, but I didn't really write much on it. I went through Shanghai. So that was like one of the opium capitals of the world, like 100 or 90 or 100 years ago. But I didn't stay there long enough to do like anything about like what's happening there now. But as I understand, what's happening there now is it's mostly like they're producing like a lot of the synthetics, like fentanyl and crystal meth and shit like that, and like all these like weird research chemicals that you hear about, like all these ones where they don't even have a name. It's just like some chemical formula.
COVID.
Yeah. So they and then again, that's like the triads, I suppose. There, isn't it? Is the big thing, or
sort of? Yeah, like some are triads, but like triads are most like the ones getting out of the country. So they'll be based out of like places like Hong Kong and Taiwan and stuff. Whereas like on the Chinese mainland, I think it's more just like, because like the Communist Party controls everything, and they kicked out the triads. That's why they all went to Hong Kong. So I think it's more the case that they make all the stuff in China. It's like some corrupt officials and stuff taking care of that, and then they give it to the triads, and the triads they're the ones who send out to like Australia or Thailand or whatever.
That's why as well, like the whole thing with like the North Korea, when we go back to that bit, like fucking why that kind of like makes sense. It's like if you've got this like fucking hermit country, where you can do this on a mass scale,
you can do what you want.
Are you, so when you go to, you're planning to go to North Korea if you can?
Nah, yeah, that'll be. I'm not gonna do any drugs though there, because I think that could end badly.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Like one thing maybe could go to like the Chinese border with North Korea. I think it'll be more relaxed there.
Yeah. Because I remember seeing the guy on that was Vice.
I go on the Russian passport as well.
Yeah. With the Vice one where he couldn't. So he went there on the south, and then he said the way he got in was through
China,
border.
isn't it? Yeah. Oh, what, when he goes to North Korea?
When he goes to North Korea, yeah.
Really good talk,
and
man.
He's I mean, like obviously you're shown what you're allowed to. The trouble with North Korea is like you can't really go that deep. But have you seen the guy with the Spanish journalist who goes there? That's on Netflix. It's a really good one because he like. Did you know that they're like one of their leading generals in the army? He's the only foreign guy in the army, but he's like one of the top guys. He is Spanish.
Like in North Korea.
In North Korea. He's the only foreign guy in the military in North Korea.
That's
and
mad.
He's Spanish. And then so some Spanish journalist gets to go in and he does it through him.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously still it's only shown what he gets the message across good in the documentary, but it's like the way he's talking to the people, it's like he's saying they're like their way of life or their like the propaganda is made so fucking baffling that you're taught it from young, but like you can't really understand it yourself. So when you ask someone what is, I can't remember what it's called, what the North Korean, like their communist regime type fucking rule book.
The Kim family.
Yeah, he says their rules of like, it's called something like, I don't know, like say like Buddhism, for example, would be a religion, like their thing there. And he goes around and he's like asking people, he's like, can you like sum it up? And not one of them can like fucking sum it up. And it's all like fucking like be remembered.
That's mad.
I mean, it's hard because I guess that's all they know there, really. So they can't really like sum it up because like it's like what isn't your country the same?
Well, we talked about this earlier, and it's like I was listening to something the other day, and they were saying like how the West views Russia, China, and these kind of countries with their propaganda. It's like, but it was like they were saying the way that they look at us, it's like no, because they're fully aware of the propaganda, and it's very jaggedy, and they know what's going on, but they kind of follow on that. They say, where in the West, you got a lot of people that are like fully bought into the dream, and the propaganda here is a lot more
subtle,
but it's so much more efficient. Like you look like the American dream, and
like everyone can make it and stuff.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's like where over there it's like, well, I kind of know what you're doing, but if I don't fucking toe the line, it's fucking,
There's a Russian documentary a while back. I forgot it's called. It's called like Behind the Sun or something.
Yeah.
It's like they had permission to film this family in North Korea, and they just followed them around for a year. But what they did was like when they said that they turned off the cameras, they didn't actually turn off the cameras. So you see like what's happening like behind the scenes as well.
Yeah.
So you see kind of both sides. You see like what the Korean government's like trying to get them to see.
Yeah.
But you also see like kind of like the reality. Yeah. Like the reality is quite mixed. Like some of it they are like forced to like make up and stuff, but some of it is like you just like it's the same as everywhere else. You have like normal families getting on with their lives. You know, they didn't think about like the Kim family all the time.
Yeah. But again, it's like that's like Western propaganda of what those places are like, isn't it? It's like this is this, and I suppose if you do live there, it's easy to like look on like a political scale and look at something from the broader picture. It's like, well, when you go micro in, like people are generally just fucking going to work, going about their business.
Yeah.
Do you mean doing shit with the family? It's like it's not.
That's one thing I learned about Iran actually, because normally like when we see Iran on TV, it's just like a bunch of like the crowds like screaming like, "Oh, death to America, death to Israel." But I think in Iran is like as a tourist, not to actually live there, but Iran was definitely like one of my favorite places to visit. Because see, like in a lot of countries, I'm not gonna name any of those countries now, but like a lot of poorer countries, if you go there as a tourist, I don't really blame them for it. Because obviously I'd probably do the same thing, but like they try to get every kind of tourist dollar out of you that they can. You know?
Of course.
Whereas in Iran, it's like the opposite. People will give you free shit just because you're a tourist. Doesn't matter if you're like American or British or Russian or Chinese. Like people, they just want to like give you a good impression of their country. Yeah. So I remember like once me and this French guy waiting for a taxi so we could smoke hash in the desert over the sunset. And this guy, this like random middle-aged guy, just came up to us, and he was just like, "Donald Trump," and we were like, we figured that's probably like the only thing he knows how to say in English. So we were just like, and then like he disappeared for like 5 minutes, and like, we forgot about him completely. And then he just came back and just gave us all ice creams.
Sick. Because our mate, I hadn't seen him for years. Like Cam, he's Iranian, isn't it? Cam's.
Oh yeah. Cam.
And I remember chatting to him, like, because he used to cut my hair, like, when I had hair. And and he was saying about it, he was saying, like, how Iran, it's like, he goes, it is kind of Western in a way, like, he said, like, the way it is, but he says it's not at the same time, like, he said, but yeah, he was kind of saying, like, it's not, it's a very, like, friendly place. But I suppose, I remember watching, have you seen that clip of where they asked the journalist asked the American guy, he's, like, one of the officials, and, like, they put like countdown timers, or they made like a video meme out of it, and they asked the politician like, why are you still funding like militia and like it was like sending weapons to Saudi Arabia when it's pretty all these things, but then you want to do all this on Iran, and he just stands there and he goes, and then someone's like put like a countdown timer, and it takes him 20 seconds before he can just kind of like fucking like muster up some fucking shit to say. Is like, I mean, because it is this, yeah. So they what about like Iraq and like these kind of places? You've done anything there, like the ones that are a bit more like fucked?
Apparently the Iraqi people are nice
because Iran, like, it's like very much like it's all sanctions there, isn't it, from the West? It's not like actual any like military presence and shit. Like,
now, one thing that's weird about Iran is because of all the sanctions, and now this is why my PayPal is blocked. So then the cash machines don't work there. Yeah, like their cash machines do. So if you have like a bank account in an Iranian bank, obviously you can withdraw money. But like, if you have like HSBC or Barclays or whatever, you can't withdraw money there. Yeah. So you basically have to take cash. Any cash you want to spend, you have to take with you and then convert it when you're there. I didn't because I'm an idiot. So what happened was when I got to Iran, I had to think of like this elaborate scheme where I basically PayPal'd this guy had like an Irish and an Iranian bank account. And I had to meet him in Tehran, and he gave me like an envelope full of cash. It was dodgy as hell, but now my PayPal's been frozen for like 3 years now for suspicious transactions. So I'm probably on like some like American government watch list as like a terrorist sponsor or some shit like that.
Yeah. So yeah, I was gonna say you could like try and apply for an ESTA to say like you're writing books and stuff now. But yeah, if the Americans have got you on that, they're like, because like if you ever filled in one of their ESTAs, have you ever been to America? Like you got to fill in this thing called an ESTA, and it's like they ask you point blankly on there, have you ever been involved in Nazi Germany? Have you ever been involved in espionage? And it's just like these fucking questions they're asking us. Yeah, it's like point blank, like are you a fucking terrorist? Like, it's like,
or a spy?
Yeah. But it's
when I was landing in Japan, they make you fill out this landing card, and like the questions are like one of the questions on there was, have you ever been convicted of a crime involving extremism, illegal substances, or explosives? So I just ticked no.
Yeah.
I guess that's just to weed out the stupid criminals.
Yeah. Do they have access though?
They can't
cross borders.
I thought it was illegal.
I don't think so. Like, I think unless you're like wanted by Interpol or something, or you've been to the country before and they've deported you, so they have your like prints on file or whatever. I don't think that. I think it's unlikely that America or whoever's going to check.
Yeah.
Or Japan or whatever. Just lie, man.
Yeah. Just lie. Yeah,
Don't lie.
Because it's that. Because I've spoken to other people before who've said like, I know someone who's done it officially, and he's gone through ESTA, and he got caught with a grow years ago, and he goes to America a lot. He's a frequent visitor of America. Every time he goes, he has to go to the American embassy up in London. He has to have an interview with them. Every time still now, and he has, because he does on the ESTA one, and because he's on the system and he admitted it, he has to go there, and he generally does get his like. He gets his shit granted, but he says he's got to plan it so long in advance. He's got to go up there because he's got to wait to get the interview, then you've got to go for the interview, then you've got to wait months for them to send it back to say yes, you can come in. But like, and then I've spoken to other people who are just like, just
lie.
They don't check. Like you get to the border and they ask you. But like them Homeland Security, when you get to the border, they're like fucking, what are you here for, sir? Yeah. They're like proper, like you can't have a laugh with them. They're fucking like, it's like, how much money do you have on you? Like fucking proper like. Do you mean make you feel guilty?
I mean, all three of us are probably on the blacklist now. We've said that.
Voice recognition on YouTube.
Yeah, right. Just lie.
Yeah, yeah. Nah, do you mean it's like
I'll just go there talking a Scottish accent.
Yeah. But as Edward Snowden was saying, like, was listening to him the other day, and it's like the fucking NSA and fucking they fucking know everything that's fucking going on. Do you know what I mean? It's like they don't even need to do anything. It's all like that fucking thing that they had in. Where was it? It was Hawaii, wasn't it? Their headquarters, where like literally fucking absolutely everything that anything was going on was just fucking. It's just like
like the global surveillance thing. Yeah.
So it's like that. They had that series, didn't they? Person of Interest.
Oh yeah, that was quite good.
Yeah, you're like that. Like people are like, oh yeah, it's a bit far. It's like it's not.
No, it's not far fetched at all.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's Did you ever like talk to like people like in the countries, like, because I can remember like watching about how the terrorists used to like do like they used to like set up like Hotmail accounts, for example, or set up like email accounts, and they would like write the message, but you never send the message and you save it as a draft. And because it
Yeah,
never
I
gets
see
sent
that.
anywhere, and then someone else who's got the same login details logs
And
into
then
the
see the
account,
messages.
sees the draft, deletes it, and writes another draft and deletes it, and like that's how they were kind of.
I used to do that myself back in the day.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that loophole? I guess that loophole's kind of
It's probably gone now, isn't
gone.
it?
We were saying earlier, like fucking Microsoft is like the
Knows
amount of,
everything.
like knowledge that they have, like on. Do you mean like every computer at some point, unless it's Apple, have had Windows software on it, and if that's
They
been
must
connected
have built
to the
in
internet,
like secret backdoors into it.
Yeah, of course.
Do you know what I mean?
Of
So
course.
like if you think of all these computers that have got Windows, and then like if they've ever been connected to the internet, you know what I mean? It's like
Or phones, like
Yeah,
Google
yeah.
phones and that.
yeah. Well, it was like David Icke, wasn't it? He said it's like, oh, you don't need to be chipped. You're fucking
Yeah,
wearing
you've got a phone in your pocket.
That's what's jokes about. Like, do you remember? I think it was last year. There was that big fuss about like those Chinese phones that are supposed like
These.
Hawaii or something.
Why would
Yeah, like supposed like lit up with spyware, and I was just thinking like, well, you've already been giving all your details away to Facebook for
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
voluntarily.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like, and you're worried about that, you know?
Yeah.
Train's left the station, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. And you ain't fucking going to come back anytime soon, I know. Do you think it'll be like, do you think that we're heading here to China, like the way Chinese is run?
I mean, I hope not. I hope World War III is going to happen before that.
You think it'll revolt then?
I don't know, man.
Or do you
think
think it's subtly happening?
I think like what's probably going to happen is it's going to like kind of get to that stage, but people are going to invent more ways to get around that.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be like a never-ending game of catch up, you know?
Yeah.
So I think we are going to get to that stage, but at that stage there'll be other things to take us from that stage. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like there'll be better ways to track, but there'll be better encryption technology as well.
Like
Yeah,
a game of
yeah.
cat and mouse, and it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's like
It's like
an
the COVID vaccines and the certificates.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like people will make fake ones.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, did you
So-
see that thing? The kids are like faking COVID tests with like Coca-Cola and lemonade and shit so they can get out of school.
Come on.
Yeah. 'Cause I remember watching someone do it. They done a test on a watermelon, and the watermelon fucking come back positive.
Positive, yeah,
with
yeah,
COVID.
yeah.
It's fucking. It's nuts, isn't it?
I mean, I'm glad I don't go to school anymore, but if I was going to school, I'd totally be on that.
Yeah, of course
yeah.
they did. Like the other week as well, they were like the thing of like making people wear masks, and they took this kid's mask, right, and like he'd had the same mask on a week, and they like
Disgusting,
swabbed it
bro.
for like fucking, and it was
Bacteria
like the
is, like,
bacteria and the
mad.
nastiness where like obviously using the same mask on off.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah,
It's like putting a
fucking
mask on an
disgusting.
exhaust pipe, bruv.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely minging, like you just fucking riddled with parasites and fucking nastiness, man.
I got one of those medieval plague masks off eBay. You know the ones like that looks like a massive bird, like with his
Yeah.
I got
What the
s-
doctors used to wear it with the big
yeah,
pointy nose.
yeah. I got some funny looks in Lidl after that.
What you wore?
Yeah,
Come on.
you got to stay safe, bro.
Yeah, so
yeah.
it's like fucking. I remember someone said as well because you being from Russia, there's someone saying about someone was saying like how they used to be fascinated with like looking at old like communist like photos and stuff of how they used to queue up for the stores to get their rations for the bread and vodka.
Yeah.
And then they were like, now that I've lived through it, I can tell you it's not that fucking interesting at all. You're even fucking queuing up and fucking having to wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why like, I was talking to my mom about North Korea, and she's like not very interested in that because like she's already lived through like obviously like Russia wasn't as bad as not since Stalin anyway. It wasn't
Yeah.
as bad as North Korea, but like it's not that interesting for her to see like all that shit. Whereas for me, like it's so new.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
fucking loved it when I went to Cuba and there were just like no internet. Well, there is internet, but it's only at hotels. Like no advertising. Like you only see like the only posters you see on walls have like pictures of Fidel Castro and like Hugo Chavez and all them on them.
Yeah, anyone I spoke to said who's been to Cuba, they said it's fucking. It's
Not gonna lie, it was good to have a break though.
Because you can't get like Coca-Cola or fuck all like that there, can you? Is that right? Like anything like American products is like.
That's one, yeah, because there's like an American. I'm sure they get some because they can just get them through Mexico and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's why they're all driving around in old like 1940s
The
cars.
cars
and
over
shit.
there
Yeah.
are so cool, man.
Because someone was saying they were like, I think there's only like 3 or 4 countries in the world that doesn't have Coca-Cola.
Right.
There's like it's a handful. Like they're like I think Cuba was one of them.
Or like
That's
North
nice.
Korea,
North Korea.
Eritrea, I guess.
Yeah, so I mean, but there's like it's a tiny handful. And like this Coca-Cola is probably the biggest.
Yeah.
I think it's like.
In like one country, I know they had like a disaster over there. I can't remember what country it was, and they basically said all of the money that they spend on marketing in that country is just going to go to help the people. But then that's just genius marketing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Look what we did. Don't forget to keep buying your daily Coke.
Keep buying it.
Yeah. But it's like they do, like, they're really clever with their shit as well. They go around and put fridges in all the shops and shit. And because they're the ones supplying the fridges and supplying the drinks, you have to put Coca-Cola at eye level on that.
Yeah.
And if they come in, they have people come around to inspect it. And if Coca-Cola ain't at eye level, then they fucking come in and fine you and fucking all that. Yeah.
There's a North Korean restaurant in Moscow, actually. It's like in the south of Moscow. It's near the statue of Gagarin, if you're ever there. It's really hidden away. It's like in the basement of a parking lot of a shopping mall. And it was like one of my weirdest dining experiences. It's like all the staff there are North Korean.
Right.
And so I'm guessing like they hold their families hostage or something back home, so they didn't defect. Actually, that's weird. There's like loads of Russians in North Korean.
Yeah.
And then there's loads of North Koreans in Russia.
Yeah, working.
Yeah, basically
illegally.
used as slave labor.
Yeah.
I remember one of my friends was telling me like he basically introduced them to techno music because he was like a manager of a nightclub and the owners were renovating. So they hired this company which hired like these North Korean like migrant workers. Yeah, it's cheap labor. And they were renovating the club, and he had to test the speaker. So he put on some lecture music, and he just freaked out. That was the first time they heard it in their lives.
That's mad,
What is this sorcery?
Yeah,
mate.
Because there's loads of them in Poland as well, isn't it?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's because Vice did a documentary on that as well. Because they just ship them out and hold the family hostage, and they're like, "Oh no, we get breaks, we get the money sent back," and then they go to see where they live, and they're like in bunk beds, and they're not allowed out.
Like on like some building site.
Yeah, man, it's mad. Like, mad.
It's shady, man. It's fucking. So what is there like? What was on the menu? What is like a North Korean cuisine?
Yeah, what's
is it
food?
kind of like?
I'm guessing it's the same as like South Korean cuisine. So they have pretty good barbecue. Yeah, barbecue is sick there. I was disappointed though that they had Coca-Cola there. That's what brought me over to this topic.
Yeah.
But they served Coca-Cola at the fucking North Korean restaurant. I was like, you fucking imperialist dogs. But it was weird, man. Like there's like a poster at a TV in the corner of the room, and it was just only playing patriotic music videos. I remember in one of them, like American just gets destroyed by nuclear missiles. And then as you leave, you can pick up these free magazines. There's one in Russian and one in English. It's just like all the latest news and gossip from North Korea, which isn't really any gossip. It's just like great leader visited collective farm 257. He was very pleased with the workers, or like new evidence of American war crimes discovered, or something like that. But it's an interesting place to definitely visit.
There's that one where they've caught the ship, haven't they? They've got like an old World War II ship, is it, in North Korea? And like the North Koreans go there, and it's like a museum. And in the ship, they've got like they got a fucking TV screen, and they show like a propaganda video of like how they like beat the Americans in the war and stuff like that. And it's just like,
have you seen that meme of there's like a car with a picture of Kim Jong-un?
nah.
Like massive picture like on the back of this car, and he's like driving around, and it says, "When you ban Instagram from your country but you want to show off your profile pic."
Sick.
That's a good one, man.
He's supposed to be sick, isn't he?
Ew. Yeah, no, he was ill, and they thought he was going to die, didn't
But
they?
again, because he's gone missing.
Where is he? Where is he now?
He's gone missing again now, and he hasn't made any public appearances and shit. So they're saying there's like there's a woman on YouTube I follow, and she's like a North Korean defector. She's obviously not in North Korea now, but she's like the one who comes with the gossip of like fucking the rebellious
yeah.
that the North Koreans are talking about. And she was saying it. She said, yeah, he's disappeared again. So rumours are he's either sick again, he's severely ill again, or he's
gone.
Yeah. Because they were saying like his dad.
How are we doing for time? 1 minute.
1 minute. Oh fucking hell!
Jesus.
But yeah, they were saying his dad or his granddad. They had heart problems as well, and they were saying like his diet. They say like she said behind the scenes, they're saying his diet is fucking really unhealthy.
Yeah.
He's actually fucking miserable and depressed as fuck. Yeah. And he's like yeah, it was interesting.
That causes death pretty quickly.
I got a joke about that, but I'll wait until we're off the air, because if I want to go to North Korea later on, I don't want to. I want to cause any trouble. You know what I'm saying?
Right, so we finish it on. We do this thing. One's got to go.
Yeah, man.
So you just say the one that you want to go, basically.
Never exist.
Quick fire.
Wait, what's good? Oh,
It's just a random like fun game of like one's got to go.
All right.
El Chapo or Escobar?
Escobar. It's overused, man. He's just in everything.
Cocaine or amphetamines?
Speed's dirty, man. Definitely cocaine.
Keep cocaine.
Keep cocaine.
Yeah.
Keep it.
Journaling or noveling?
Journaling's too
word.
much responsibility, bro. I'm going to take noveling.
Cool.
Okay.
I probably know what your answer is because after we've spoken to you now. Fact or fiction? But you might surprise me.
There wouldn't be any fiction without fact.
That's true.
True.
That's true.
Yakuza.
Every stereotype's based on truth.
Yeah. Yakuza or Triads?
I haven't met the triads yet, so I'm going to go with Yakuza. Just for the aesthetics, you know?
Yeah. Sick.
Cool.
Just for the tattoos and the missing fingers.
Yeah, man.
Madness.
Nice. Nico, it was a pleasure.
Boom.
Yeah, safe, man.
Boom.
Nico,
That was
and
great.
anyone watching, the book that he has out now is called Dopeworld, Adventures in Druglands, and maybe in a few weeks' time or something, when it's just me and Roscoe again,
We'll talk about it.
I'll let you know I got on with the book.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, Nico.
Yeah, thank you, Nico.